Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Buffalo. Oh, it's a better morning than that. Good morning. All right. It is truly my pleasure to be here. First, President Podolevsky, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the hospitality. I'll tell you what a great guy the president is. He said any student here today, 5 points extra credit just for showing up. Let's give him a big round of applause, President Podolevsky. It's a pleasure to be with Mayor Brown again. We've been friends for many, many years. We've been working together for many years. He is truly a superstar in elected service. And, you know, we tend to talk about the negative side of elected service. We have some really great superstars, and Mayor Brown is one of them. Let's give him a round of applause. Assemblyman Sam Hoyt, same thing. I'm going to talk about Albany in some unflattering terms today. That does not suggest that all assemblymen and all senators aren't doing their jobs. Some of them are doing extraordinary service. And they remember why they're there, and they're performing for the people, and they do it every day, and Sam Hoyt is one of them. Let's give him a round of applause. Now, both the mayor and Sam were from this great university, and in getting ready for today, I asked a few questions of the administration of the university for some incident reports back from the days when they were students here, and there are a couple of run-ins I see with the security office having to do with late-night parties and beer, and we'll talk about that later. I didn't think it's the right time to talk about it. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I have been on the job. I'm the relatively new governor, only a few months, but they have been very, very long months, I want you to know. I was at an event with my brother Chris, my younger brother Chris, who's sort of the wise guy of the family, and a person who I hadn't seen in a while came up to me and said, oh, you know, you look more distinguished than I remember you. He said this in front of Chris, and I looked at Chris and said, yeah, distinguished. See that? And I look more distinguished. He said, yeah, that means you have more gray hair. That's what that means. Unfortunately, it's true. It has been past few months have been long, but we've also gotten great work done. As you've heard from the mayor and you've heard from Sam, we've made real progress, and more progress than has been made in a while. And now the challenge for us is to keep it going. And basically, the first half of the legislative session is done. We went away for halftime. We had the midterm break. Now we're back for the second half. And I want to talk about the second half agenda and what we want to get done in this second half, and the work that will continue to build on the energy that we have started. And that's what this presentation is all about. I was elected for 3 goals, 3 basic reasons when I went to the people of this state and I asked for their vote and their support. It was to get the economy running again. It was to clean up Albany, clean up the state government, ethics reform, and return New York to the legacy of social progress that is part of the tradition of this state. Phase 1 is completed. We're off to a good start because of the passage of the state budget. The budget was honest, it was balanced, it was on time, there were no gimmicks. What we did in this year's budget is close a $10 billion deficit, which was the gap that the state budget had. We did it without raising taxes. We did it without borrowing. We ended what they called the automatic inflators. The state programs were going up every year about 14%. If you have state programs with built-in increases of 14% every year, don't be surprised when the state budget is always out of balance. We started the introduction of performance-oriented programming, meaning we fund these programs, let's focus on the performance of the program rather than just how much money we're spending. And we started to shift the focus of state government to rebuilding the economy and jobs, 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 because that's what it's all about. There's more to be done. That's what today is all about, and that's what Phase 2 of reforming Albany is all about. On the first goal, to get the economy running, we have to start by getting taxes under control. We did that with the state budget. That's what closing the deficit with no new state taxes are about. Now we have to focus on the new taxes from the local governments all across the state, right? Because you have state taxes, you also have county taxes, town taxes, school district taxes. And New York's hidden tax, in my opinion, are the property taxes that we pay primarily through our homes. We pay the highest property taxes in the nation, believe it or not. When you look at the taxes, property taxes all across the country, the top 15 highest taxed counties in the country are in the state of New York, believe it or not. Nassau County, downstate, the highest taxes in absolute dollars in the United States. Westchester, the second highest tax county, Rockland, the fifth. Erie County, 13th highest taxed county in the United States of America. All the counties in New York are in the top 20% of the highest taxed counties. That, my friends, is what has to change. The median property tax bill is $1,900. State of New York, $3,700, 96% higher. When you look at the increase in the property taxes, rate of inflation has been 2.9% from 2002 to 2007, okay, 2.9. Rate of inflation is the basic barometer that things are going up. That's the rate of inflation. 2.9, county taxes going up on the average 5.7, city taxes 5.1. Look at the other end, school taxes 7.5% per year. Fire districts 7.6% per year. That's what's driving those property taxes. And the simple truth is New York has no economic future as the tax capital of the nation. Why are businesses leaving? Why do businesses leave, and why do people leave following the businesses? Because of the tax situation in the state of New York. It's not only the property taxes, we think of it as a tax on our homes. It's also the greatest business tax in the state. Our corporate income tax in the state, we raised $3 billion. Businesses pay $16 billion through the property tax. This is the tax that's driving businesses from the state as well as people from their homes. What's the answer? The answer is to cap the increase in property taxes once and for all. I have a proposal that is very simple, that caps the increase in the property taxes to 2%. All local property taxes will have a 2% cap per year unless the people of that district, whatever it is, vote with a 60% margin to override the cap. Why 60% instead of 50%? Because in this case, I want the odds stacked in favor of the taxpayer, because the deck has been stacked against them for too long. So a 60% vote. A 60% vote to override the cap. Otherwise, government has to live with a 2% cap, fiscal discipline, just like every family, just like every business in this state has to live with fiscal discipline. There is precedent for this cap proposal. The state of Massachusetts passed a tax cap. They passed it in 1980. When they passed it, it was the second most taxed state in the nation. Remember, they used to call Massachusetts Taxachusetts, they used to call it. Second highest tax state. Today, Massachusetts is the 23rd highest tax state. We also need to combine this with a new attitude in New York. It's not just about how much you spend. All the discussion is how much we spend. It's not just what we spend. It's not that more money means more results. We have to look at the programmed performance and what we're actually achieving for people. New York spends more money per pupil than any state in the United States. We're number 34th in terms of results. Well, spend more money. No, it's not just the money. We're already spending more money than any other state. We're not getting the results, and we have to start to focus on the results. Looking at Massachusetts again, New York spends 28% more per student than Massachusetts. But New York is 40th in graduation rates, Massachusetts is 14th. Massachusetts is number 1 in test scores, New York is 25. So don't tell me it's just more money will lead to more results. And when you look at how we're spending the money, especially on schools, you'll see the problem. Since 1996, student population has gone down 4%. We have 4% fewer pupils. Why? It's a demographic curve. It's a matter of age. Pupils are down 4%. Spending is up 120%. We've increased teachers about 10%. And we've increased supervisors 34%. That's what's costing the money. How do you have fewer pupils, 4% fewer pupils, you're spending 120% more, only 10% more teachers, but 34% more supervisors? You're building the bureaucracy, you're building the management, you're building the front office, and you're not putting the resources in the classroom where they actually would affect the students, which would increase achievement and performance. You've bloated the bureaucracy, and it has to stop, and it has to stop now. With the tax cap proposal, we also need what's called mandate relief and pension reform. Mandate relief are the number of mandates that the state imposes on local governments to perform. That has to be reduced. We have a mandate relief redesign team that's working on that now to strip away the unnecessary mandates. And we have to reform the public pension system because we can't afford to pay the public pensions. They are soaring at levels that are unsustainable for the state. In 1998, we spent $1.3 billion. It's now $6.2 billion, 476% increase. Obviously, the state can't pay those rates of increase anymore. Second, cleaning up Albany and ethics reform. There's a long line of disgraced politicians coming out of Albany. I spent 4 years as Attorney General. I did many of these cases myself. I was very aggressive when it came to public integrity cases, and I can tell you firsthand how bad the corruption is and how widespread. Worse than anything is the people of the state have lost faith in the government. And the one thing you hear from Buffalo to Montauk is people will come up and they just say, you know what, I don't trust the state government anymore. I don't have faith in the state government anymore. They've seen year after year this long line of problems, and they've lost faith. When people lose faith in the government loses power, because the government's strength is only as good as the extension of the faith. We have a part-time state legislature. As you know, that's what the Constitution says. You serve in the legislature. You can also serve in private business. You can be a lawyer. You can be a businessman. But the question that has come up time and time again is, who else do the legislators represent? And is it a conflict in their other life? So release a list of who you represent before the state. And how much do they pay you? Answer the question. Who else do you work for besides the people of the state? And if the legislature refuses to answer the question, well, they just did answer the question by refusing to answer the question. And that is what ethics reform is all about. Now, the legislature says back to me, well, we don't have to answer the questions. We will police ourselves. Well, the legislature has had an ethics committee, so-called, since 2007. The ethics committee since 2007 has never taken a real action. And the concept of self-policing is an oxymoron by definition. You can't police yourself. Since 2007, while the Legislative Ethics Committee has sat there. There's been a long line of politicians who have gotten into trouble, who've been indicted, who've been convicted, and there hasn't been a peep out of the Legislative Ethics Commission. We need an independent monitor so the people can restore faith, and we need it now. Number three, New York has always been this nation's social conscience and the engine of social progress. You look at all the great progressive movements that started in this nation. Many of them started right here in the state of New York. The environmental movement started on Storm King Mountain on the Hudson River, and that environmental movement spread across the state and then spread across the entire country. The women's rights movement started right here in the state of New York in Seneca Falls. The workers' rights movement, which grew the labor movement, started after the Triangle fire, the factory fire. There is a civil rights issue, in my opinion, a basic right and a basic battle that's going on today around marriage equality, which is this simple, that if you believe it's this simple, that this state should stand up today and make the simple but profound statement that all people in New York are treated equally, regardless of color of skin or sexual orientation, and everyone has a right to marry. Let's pass marriage equality in the state of New York, and let's pass it now. And my friends, you know, social progress is an evolutionary process. It comes over time. And sometimes we fool ourselves and we think, well, we've progressed to the point of perfection. We really haven't. And you have to take a look back in time and see how necessary progress has been. At one time in this nation, it was illegal for blacks and whites to marry each other. And that was not that long ago. 1968, this country passed a law that said it was illegal for states to prohibit blacks and whites from marrying each other. So social progress is an ongoing effort. This state has always been at the forefront of it. We always figured it out first. We made the statement, we passed the laws, the rest of the nation has followed. We have now fallen behind. Other states like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Iowa, Vermont, New Hampshire, they've acted on marriage equality before us. We're going to remedy that this year. Equality for all New Yorkers. We're going to pass marriage equality, and this legislature should do it this year. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So to recap, we have to get the state's economy running again. We have to clean up Albany, have ethics reform. We have to return New York to the legacy of social progress, and now is the time to do it. June 20th is D-Day. It is the day that the legislature leaves Albany, and these things should all be done before the legislature leaves, or they'll have to deal with the people of the state of New York. And to put it simply, tell your legislators, pass the bills or just don't come home, period. In closing, my friends, there's always a simple truth. Whatever the matter, there's always a simple truth. There's always a right or a wrong. I was speaking with one of my daughters the other night, and she was explaining a situation that she had to me in her life. She's away at school, and she was supposed to take one set of courses with one friend, and then she was going to take another course with another friend, and she was explaining, and now the friends are upset, and there's all confusion. And she said to me as she was explaining at one point, she said, well, you know, Dad, it's complicated, you just wouldn't understand. You know, and she's 16, and I'm bordering on senility, and, you know, she has that facile mind that can deal with complexity, and I'm only good at simple situations. But I said to her, you know, Mariah, as complex as the situation seems, there is always a fundamental truth. There is always a simple truth. There's always a right and a wrong in any situation. And sometimes it doesn't come to you from your mind. Sometimes it comes from your heart. Sometimes it comes from your gut. But there's always a truth that you want to get. And I don't understand about your friends in the courses, but there's a truth there. There's a truth in these situations. We're talking about government in Albany and the legislature, but there's always a simple truth. And the simple truth here, this basic question, is about who is going to control the government. And for many years, the people of the state have not controlled Albany. We've lost control of the state government. And that's what this battle is all about. Either the citizens are going to control government or the lobbyists are going to control government. Either the people are going to control government or the politicians are going to control government. And you know what this ethics issue is really all about? The ethics issue is really about trust. Is having a system in Albany that you can trust, and that you know if someone does the wrong thing, there's a system that will stop it. I'm not saying that all the legislators are bad. Sam Hoyt's here. He's a brilliant legislator. Most of them are great, great legislators. But there has to be a system in place that when someone is doing the wrong thing, you have confidence that that person is going to be found out and justice is going to be done. And right now the people of this state have lost trust in government, and we have to restore it, and it's not going to be restored until there's a system in place that does it. It's not going to be restored because the legislature says we'll police ourselves, because self-policing is an oxymoron. Pass ethics reform and say to the people of the state, you can trust your government once again. That's what the ethics issue is all about. The property tax cap issue comes down to respect, and respect for the taxpayers of this state, and respect for the tax dollars that are spent in this state. You're going to increase property taxes 7%? How? How do you do that to a taxpayer? Where are they supposed to get the money? What's going up 7% in their life? Are they making 7% more money? Did their home value go up 7%? Did their savings account go up 7%? Respect their situation. How are they supposed to find the funding? And just the way every family and every business has had to deal with this economic recession at their kitchen table by cutting back funds, by being more efficient, government has to do the same thing. Show the taxpayers that respect. That's what the property tax cap is all about. Who is going to win? Who's going to win? What's going to happen over the next few weeks? Will the legislature pass these issues, which, by the way, they've been talking about for years and years and years? They've been talking about a property tax cap for 15 years. They've been talking about ethics reform since there was another Governor Cuomo. That's how long they've been talking about ethics reform. Are we finally going to get Albany to do this? Is Albany going to finally change? Who's going to win? That, my friends, is up to you. It's what Sam Hoyt was saying. This is a democracy, and the people win in a democracy. And the people win in a democracy when their voice is heard and when they act. If you want this government to change, you tell this government it's time to change. And they will listen. Because fundamentally, politicians listen to the people. Politicians have very good hearing. They do. Because if they don't hear the people, they're not politicians for long. They will respond if you make your voice heard. And this really is the time to do it. Because I am telling you, we have made great progress over these past few months. We really have. And this state is poised to take it to a new level. You can feel it. We're changing the energy in this state. People are feeling good. And it is about time. Because you know what? We've been talking about the past for too long. And we've been talking about the good old days for too long. And what Buffalo was, and what Western New York was, and what we used to do. We have to start looking to the future. And what will we be doing? And what's the economy of tomorrow and the jobs of tomorrow? And why do our young people stay here? Because this is the place of tomorrow. This is the greatest state in the United States, the state of New York. This is the Empire State. There is no reason for any job to go anywhere else. There is no reason for our young people to be leaving this state to find a future or anywhere else. Their future is here because this is the Empire State. And the one thing we haven't had is a state government as good as the people of this state. And that's what today is all about, and we're going to make it happen with your help. Thank you, and God bless you.